Every day you pass opportunities to connect, to influence, to grow, simply because you don't know what to say. Awkward silences, fumbling words, that fear of saying the wrong thing. It ends today. In the next 1 to 2 hours, I'm going to teach you the exact, repeatable techniques that make small talk effortless, magnetic, and powerful. No theory, no fluff. You will learn how to start conversations, sustain them, and end them leaving people wanting more. By the end, you won't just talk, you will command connection. Chapter 1. Stop freezing, start talking. You freeze. Your mouth goes dry. Your mind goes blank. It's a moment you know all too well. You see someone you want to talk to. Maybe it's at a networking event. Maybe it's at a party. Maybe it's someone new at work. And suddenly, nothing. You say nothing. You do nothing. You just stand there hoping someone else will make the first move. Stop. Stop right there. This ends now. Because here's the truth. Your brain fears judgment. That's natural. Your brain wants safety. Your brain wants to hide. But hesitation kills opportunity. Every second you wait is a second someone else has taken your moment. Every time you stay silent, someone else steps forward, connects, and moves ahead. And you stay frozen. You have a choice. That's the key. You don't have to wait for courage to magically appear. Courage is not a feeling, it's an action. You have a choice to act now even when you feel fear. You have a choice to speak even if your hands shake. You have a choice to start talking. That's the key. Start talking. Start connecting. Start now. Let's make this practical. The first thing you need is triggers. Triggers are cues that remind you to act. A trigger could be seeing someone new enter the room. A trigger could be noticing someone standing alone. A trigger could be the moment you realize an opportunity is slipping. You see the trigger and you act. That's all. You act. That's the key. Now let's talk openers. You need simple, repeatable openers that feel natural. Don't overthink. Don't try to be clever. Start small. Observations work. Always, "Hey, I love your jacket. Where did you get it? This music is wild tonight. Do you come here often? I noticed you're reading book. How are you liking it?" Repeat these until they are automatic. Don't memorize, internalize. Make them a reflex. That's the key. Reflex over thought. Action over hesitation. Let's look at a real-world example. Imagine two people at the same networking event. Person A sees someone standing alone. Person A freezes. They worry, what if they reject me? What if I say the wrong thing? They wait, and the opportunity passes. Person B sees the same person. They notice the trigger. They step forward. They say, "Hey, I couldn't help but notice you're here alone. Mind if I join you?" Boom. Conversation started. Connection made. Opportunity seized. The difference is not luck. It's action. Person B has a choice. They chose action. That's the key. You might think, "But I'm awkward." Good. That's fine. Awkwardness is temporary. Inaction lasts forever. You don't need perfection. You don't need approval. You don't need their permission. You just need to start talking. Repeat after me. Start talking. Start connecting. Start now. Say it. Believe it. Do it. Here's a simple exercise you can do every day. Practice triggers and openers until they feel automatic. Step 1. Notice one opportunity to speak. Step 2. Use a repeatable opener. Step 3. Follow up with a question. Step 4. Keep it flowing. Step 5. End the conversation gracefully. Repeat. 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 Every day. That's how transformation happens. You have a choice. You make the choice. That's the key. Let's address fear again. Fear will come. Fear is loud. Fear tells you to wait. Fear tells you to stay silent. Fear tells you to hide. You hear it. You acknowledge it. Then you act anyway. Action is louder than fear. Action proves to your brain that the risk is smaller than you imagined. Action rewires your mind. Action builds confidence. That's the key. You have a choice. You choose action. You choose connection. You choose growth. There's another truth you need to accept. Not everyone will respond perfectly. Some conversations will fizzle. Some attempts will fail. That's normal. That's life. Failure is not fatal. Silence is. You don't need everyone to like you. You don't need every conversation to be perfect. You need one thing: consistency. You start talking. You start connecting. You start now. That's the key. Let's break it down step by step. Step 1, notice the trigger. Step 2, step forward. Step 3, open with observation. Step 4, ask a question. Step 5, listen actively. Step 6, respond. Step 7, close gracefully. Each step is simple. Each step is actionable. Each step builds confidence. You don't need magic. You don't need luck. You need repetition. You need discipline. That's the key. Here's the repetition mantra again, and I want you to remember it. Start talking. Start connecting. Start now. Say it out loud. Say it in your mind. Repeat it like a drill. This mantra is your anchor. This mantra is your compass. This mantra is the difference between freezing and action. That's the key. Remember the difference between the frozen person and the person who starts talking? It's simple. One acts. One waits. One chooses. One hesitates. The person who acts gains opportunities, connections, influence. The person who hesitates gains nothing. Opportunities pass. Moments slip. Time doesn't wait. You have a choice. That's the key. Choose action. Choose connection. Choose growth. Finally, let's tie this back to the larger theme of the book. Mastering small talk is not about words. It's about action. It's about confidence. It's about repetition. It's about choosing connection over fear every single time. You now know the simple truth. Freezing is optional. Action is mandatory. You have a choice. You make the choice. That's the key. You mastered your fear. You practiced triggers. You internalized repeatable openers. You understood the difference between hesitation and action. Now you're ready for the next level. Next, we'll talk about the true currency of conversations: curiosity and engagement. Get ready to ignite every conversation with life, energy, and interest. Chapter 2. Ask questions that spark fire. You've taken the first step. You stopped freezing. You started talking. Good. But talking alone is not enough. If you want to master small talk, you need to ask the right questions. Questions that spark fire. Questions that ignite connection. Questions that make people open up. This is where the magic happens. Stop asking generic questions. Stop asking the same tired lines everyone uses. How are you? What do you do? Nice weather, huh? Those questions are conversation killers. They are automatic, they are dull, and they get you nowhere. You don't need dull. You need momentum. You need energy. You need curiosity-driven, thought-provoking questions. That's the key. You have a choice. That's the key. You can settle for safe questions that go nowhere, or you can ask questions that create connection. You have a choice. Ask to discover. Ask to connect. Ask to create momentum. Repeat it. Internalize it. Live it. Every conversation you have, ask to discover. Ask to connect. Ask to create momentum. Here's a simple principle. Curiosity beats small talk every time. People love to talk about themselves, their experiences, their passions. But most people are asked the wrong questions. They are asked questions that are boring, predictable, forgettable. You will not be boring. You will not be predictable. You will be memorable. That's the key. Let's make it practical. Transform the question, "How are you?" into something that sparks curiosity. Instead of asking, "How are you?" ask, "What's the most interesting thing that happened to you today?" Watch what happens. People pause. They think. They engage. They reveal something unique. They light up. That's the key. Ask questions that spark fire. Another example. Instead of "What do you do?" try, "What are you most excited about right now?" Or, "What's the project that's keeping you awake at night?" In a good way? Suddenly, your conversation moves from bland to vibrant. Suddenly, people start to reveal their real selves. Suddenly, you create momentum. You have a choice. That's the key. Now, here's a mistake almost everyone makes. They ask a question, then shut up, waiting for the other person to answer. Silence is powerful, but only if it's used correctly. After you ask a curiosity-driven question, give the other person space. Listen actively. Respond thoughtfully. Don't rush. Don't interrupt. This is how you build engagement. Ask to discover. Ask to connect. Ask to create momentum. Repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it. That's the key. Let's talk about structure. Every conversation should have a rhythm. Open, explore, engage. Open with observation or a warm comment. Explore with curiosity-driven questions. Engage by listening, responding, and building on what they say. This structure creates natural flow. It eliminates awkward pauses. It creates energy. It creates momentum. That's the key. You might be thinking, but what if they give a boring answer? Good. That's fine. Boring answers are opportunities. Pivot. Follow up. Dig deeper. Ask, why do you think that? How did that feel? What was the lesson there? Boring answers are not dead ends. They are doorways to connection if you know how to follow up. You have a choice. That's the key. Here's a real-world scenario. Imagine you're at a party. You meet someone and ask the standard, "What do you do?" They reply, "I'm in marketing." You nod. Silence. Awkward. Nothing happens. Now watch the difference. You ask, "What's the project you're most proud of this year?" Suddenly they light up. They share a story. They laugh. They engage. Connection is created. Momentum begins. That's the key. Ask to discover. Ask to connect. Ask to create momentum. Repetition is everything. Every conversation is practice. Every conversation is a chance to master this skill. Ask curiosity-driven questions until it becomes second nature. Make it a habit. Internalize the mantra, ask to discover, ask to connect, ask to create momentum. Say it, repeat it, live it. That's the key. Let's address fear. Some of you fear asking bold questions. You worry they might seem intrusive. That's normal. That's your brain seeking safety. But here's the truth. People respond positively when you show genuine interest. Thoughtful questions demonstrate curiosity, intelligence, and confidence. Thoughtful questions make people like you. Thoughtful questions make you memorable. You have a choice. Ask boldly. Ask genuinely. Ask to connect. That's the key. Now let's take it further. Don't just ask questions. You build a chain of questions. A chain creates flow. A chain keeps the energy alive. For example, ask, "What's the most interesting thing that happened to you today?" Listen to their answer. Follow up, "Why do you think that happened?" Then, "How did it change your perspective?" Each step builds momentum. Each step creates engagement. Each step sparks fire. Repeat after me, ask to discover. Ask to connect. Ask to create momentum. That's the key. Another crucial point, questions are not about interrogation. They are about curiosity, about presence, about energy. You are not probing. You are connecting. You are learning. You are growing. You have a choice. That's the key. Connect with curiosity. Connect with intention. Connect with energy. Ask to discover. Ask to connect. Ask to create momentum. Repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it. Finally, remember this. Your goal is not to impress. Your goal is not to dominate the conversation. Your goal is to engage, to connect, to spark momentum. The right question can open doors, create trust, and build influence in minutes. The wrong question keeps you on the sidelines, invisible, forgotten. You have a choice. That's the key. Let's wrap up this chapter with the core truth. Small talk is not small, it is powerful. Your questions are your tools. Your curiosity is your weapon. Your engagement is your leverage. Stop asking boring questions. Start asking curiosity-driven questions. Start asking questions that make people reveal themselves. Start asking questions that spark fire. Repeat after me one last time. Ask to discover. Ask to connect. Ask to create momentum. Say it. Believe it. Live it. Use it in every conversation. You have mastered the art of starting the conversation. Now it's time to ignite it. You have learned how to ask the right questions, build momentum, and spark engagement. Next, we move to the subtle power of silence, the magnetic pause that makes people lean in, listen, and value every word you say. Chapter 3, The Magnetic Pause. Silence. That's right. Silence. Most people fear it. They panic. They fill it with noise, words, nervous laughter. Silence feels awkward. Silence feels wrong. But here's the truth. Silence is your secret weapon. When used correctly, it makes people lean in, makes them engage. It gives your words weight. It gives your presence power. You have a choice. That's the key. You can panic and fill every gap with meaningless chatter. Or you can pause. You can wait. You can let silence do the work. Pause to show power. Pause to show presence. Pause to control the conversation. Repeat it. Internalize it. Live it. Every conversation, every moment, every interaction, you pause. That's the key. Let's make it practical. Here's the 3-second rule. After someone answers a question, don't jump in. Don't interrupt. Don't start talking. Count silently. 1, 2, 3. Then respond. That 3-second pause signals interest. It signals thoughtfulness. It signals confidence. People notice. People respect it. People lean in. That's the key. Think about it. Most conversations are rushed. People talk over each other. People don't listen. People don't reflect. You pause. You give space. You give attention. You show that what they say matters. This is not hesitation. This is strategy. This is power. Pause to show power. Pause to show presence. Pause to control the conversation. Repeat. 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 That's the key. Here's an example. You ask, "What's the most exciting project you're working on?" They answer. Most people immediately jump in with another question, a comment, or a story about themselves. You pause. 3 seconds. Just let it sit. Then you follow up. "That's fascinating. How did you get started with that?" That pause makes your engagement feel genuine. That pause makes your presence felt. That pause transforms a simple answer into a conversation that sticks. You have a choice. That's the key. Now let's address fear. Silence feels dangerous. Your brain screams, "Say something. Fill the gap." Don't listen. Your fear is lying. Silence is not awkward. Silence is intentional. Silence is magnetic. Every pause you take signals control. Every pause you take signals confidence. Every pause you take signals respect for the other person. Pause to show power. Pause to show presence. Pause to control the conversation. Repeat. 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 That's the key. There's another layer. Not all silence is equal. There's awkward silence, where nothing happens. And there's magnetic silence, where people lean forward, waiting for your next word. How do you create magnetic silence? It's simple. Your words before the pause matter. Ask curiosity-driven questions. Share meaningful insights. Make statements that matter. Then pause. Let them process. Let them respond. Let the energy build. You have a choice. That's the key. The magnetic pause is also about pacing. Slow down. Don't rush. Speak with intention. Speak with purpose. Speak with clarity. Most people talk fast. They ramble. They lose the listener. You pause. You breathe. You think. You let the words land. This is how authority is built. This is how respect is earned. Pause to show power. Pause to show presence. Pause to control the conversation. Repeat. 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 That's the key. Let's do a real-world example. Imagine a meeting. Someone presents an idea. You immediately have thoughts, feedback, corrections. Most people jump in. Chaos ensues. You pause. 3 seconds. You nod. You smile. You let the silence breathe. Then you speak. Your words land heavier. Your feedback is valued. Your presence dominates without yelling. That's the key. You have a choice. Pause. Engage. Control. Here's a common mistake, thinking that pausing is passive. It's not. Pausing is active. Pausing is deliberate. Pausing is a tool of influence. When you pause, you are not silent out of fear. You are silent to gain control. You are silent to deepen connection. You are silent to create respect. Pause to show power. Pause to show presence. Pause to control the conversation. Repeat it. Live it. Own it. That's the key. Practice is essential. Start small. In everyday interactions, pause. At the coffee shop, pause after the barista speaks. At work, pause after a colleague shares information. With friends, pause after someone tells a story. Count the 3 seconds. Feel the effect. Observe the response. It's subtle at first. Then it becomes natural. Then it becomes magnetic. You have a choice. That's the key. Here's another tip. Combine the pause with active listening. Your body language, your eye contact, your nods, they all amplify the pause. You are present. You are engaged. You are in control. Silence becomes a tool, not a void. Pause to show power. Pause to show presence. Pause to control the conversation. Repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it. That's the key. Remember, small talk is not about filling the silence. Small talk is about creating connection. Every pause is an opportunity to strengthen that connection. Every pause is an opportunity to show confidence. Every pause is an opportunity to control the energy in the room. Silence is your ally. Silence is your weapon. Silence is your advantage. You have a choice. That's the key. Let's wrap this chapter with the main takeaway. Don't fear silence. Use it. Master it. Let it work for you. Pause to show power. Pause to show presence. Pause to control the conversation. Internalize the mantra. Repeat it. Use it. Make it second nature. This is how ordinary small talk becomes magnetic. This is how you take control of every conversation. This is how you become unforgettable. You mastered your fear. You asked the right questions. You now understand the power of silence. Next, we move into mirroring and matching. The subtle body language and tone techniques that instantly make people trust and like you. Chapter 4, Mirror and Match. Subtle signals, huge influence. You want influence. You want connection. You want people to like you instantly. Here's a secret few understand. Most influence is nonverbal. Most connection is subconscious. Words matter, yes, but how you say them, how you move, how you behave, this is what builds instant rapport. Mirror and match. That's the key. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. Stop thinking influence is about charm or charisma. Stop thinking connection comes from talking more or impressing people with your stories. That's a trap. Influence comes from alignment. Subtle alignment. Matching gestures. Matching tone. Matching pace. Subtle signals that say without words, I understand you. I'm like you. You can trust me. You have a choice. That's the key. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. Let's break it down. First, body language. Watch the person you're talking to. Are they leaning forward? Are they sitting back? Are their hands open or closed? Now subtly mirror them. Not exactly, just enough to create subconscious familiarity. Lean in when they lean in. Use similar hand gestures. Match their posture. People feel at ease when someone mirrors them. It's natural. It's subtle. It works. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. Tone is next. Pay attention to pitch, volume, and energy. If someone speaks softly and slowly, don't yell over them. Don't rush them. Lower your volume. Slow your pace. Match their energy. If someone speaks quickly and enthusiastically, allow your words to come faster. Match their rhythm. People subconsciously feel understood when your tone aligns with theirs. You have a choice. That's the key. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. Pace and rhythm matter too. Conversations have a natural flow. Some people are methodical. Some are fast. Some are emotional. Some are analytical. Align with their pace. Not to mimic them exactly, but to synchronize. People subconsciously feel like you get them when your energy matches theirs. You have a choice. That's the key. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. Here's a practical example. You're in a meeting. A colleague speaks slowly, deliberately, with long pauses. Most people talk over them, rushing their ideas, ignoring subtle cues. You match. You slow your speech. You allow pauses. You nod slightly. You mirror gestures. Suddenly, your colleague feels understood. Suddenly, your influence increases without saying a single dominant word. That's the key. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. Now, some of you may fear this will feel fake. Good. That's normal. It won't feel natural at first. That's okay. Practice in low-stakes situations. Mirror subtly. Observe reactions. Adjust. Over time, it becomes second nature. People will sense connection. They will feel rapport. You don't need to force it. You just need to align. You have a choice. That's the key. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. Let's go deeper. Mirroring is not copying. Copying is obvious. Copying feels fake. Mirroring is subtle. It's adaptive. It's subconscious. Mirror enough to create familiarity. Match enough to signal understanding. Not too much, not too little. Just right. This is influence without words. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. That's the key. Consider tone again. If someone laughs softly, laugh softly. If someone emphasizes certain words, emphasize them too. Subtle. Not exaggerated. People notice alignment, even if they don't consciously realize it. Alignment breeds trust. Alignment breeds ease. Alignment breeds influence. You have a choice. That's the key. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. Here's another real-world scenario. You're at a networking event. A potential client speaks quickly with excitement, using hand gestures. Most people try to keep their own rhythm, staying calm and slow. The client feels disconnected. You mirror. You increase your pace slightly. You use similar gestures. You match energy. Suddenly, rapport forms naturally. Suddenly, your influence grows. No words required. That's the key. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. Remember, repetition builds mastery. Every conversation is practice. Every interaction is an opportunity to refine your mirroring. Watch body language. Listen to tone. Match pace. Adjust subtly. Reflect but don't copy. Align but don't mimic. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. That's the key. Here's the mantra again. Say it aloud. Say it in your mind. Repeat it like a drill. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. These are not empty words. They are your guide to building instant rapport. They are your tool to influence without force. They are your path to becoming magnetic in every interaction. One final tip. Use mirroring in combination with everything you've learned so far. Start talking. Ask curiosity-driven questions. Use the magnetic pause. Now add mirroring and matching. The combination creates unstoppable conversational flow. The combination makes you unforgettable. You have a choice. That's the key. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. Let's tie it back to the chapter and the book's theme. Connection is built subtly. Influence is earned quietly. Mirroring and matching are the invisible levers of rapport. Master them and people naturally trust you. People naturally like you. People naturally engage. You have a choice. That's the key. Mirror to connect. Match to influence. Repeat to master. You have learned to stop freezing. You have learned to ask questions that spark fire. You have learned the power of the pause. Now you are ready to influence at a deeper subconscious level. Next, we move into Chapter 5. Stories Sell, Talk with Substance, where we uncover the secret power of storytelling to transform ordinary conversation into unforgettable connection. Chapter 5. Stories Sell, Talk with Substance. People love stories. They always have. They always will. Facts are forgotten. Figures fade. Names slip away. But a story? A story sticks. A story resonates. A story creates connection. That's the power. And if you want to master small talk, you need to harness this power. Stories sell. That's the key. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. Repeat it. Internalize it. Live it. Stop thinking small talk is only about questions, pauses, and body language. Those are tools, essential tools, but they are not enough. You need substance. You need depth. You need stories. Every mini story you tell is a bridge that pulls people in, a bridge that sparks engagement, a bridge that makes your conversations memorable. You have a choice. That's the key. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. Here's a simple principle. Craft stories around ordinary experiences. Don't worry about being dramatic or impressive. Everyday experiences told well captivate. It's about delivery, detail, and relevance. For example, instead of saying, "I went to the grocery store," you could say, "I went to the grocery store and I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years. It reminded me how small moments can change your day." Suddenly, that ordinary errand becomes memorable. You have a choice. That's the key. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. Let's break down why stories work. Stories appeal to emotion. Stories create relatability. Stories make abstract ideas tangible. You want to teach a lesson? Tell a story. You want to make a point? Tell a story. You want to spark engagement? Tell a story. Repetition builds retention. Say it aloud. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. That's the key. Think about your own life. Every interaction, every event, every moment is an opportunity to craft a story. You spilled coffee. You solved a problem at work. You had an awkward encounter. Every experience can become a story if framed correctly. Stories are everywhere. You just have to recognize them. You have a choice. That's the key. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. Here's a practical example. You meet someone at a networking event and they ask what you do on weekends. Most people reply, "I watch TV," or "I hang out with friends." Forgettable. Instead, turn it into a story. "Last weekend, I tried cooking a new recipe for the first time. It was a disaster at first, but by the end, I had created something surprisingly good. It reminded me how failing fast teaches more than playing it safe." Suddenly, you are memorable. Suddenly, you create engagement. You create momentum. You have a choice. That's the key. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. Let's address fear. Some of you think storytelling is only for writers, speakers, or performers. Wrong. Storytelling is for everyone. Every human has experiences. Every human has lessons. Every human can tell a story. You don't need perfection. You don't need drama. You don't need validation. You need observation, reflection, and clarity. You have a choice. That's the key. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. Timing is everything. Don't dominate the conversation. Don't overextend. Keep your stories short and impactful. 3 sentences for sentences, 5 at most. A story is not a monologue, it's a spark. It's a seed that grows engagement. It's a window into your perspective that invites people to connect. You have a choice. That's the key. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. Here's another practical technique. Turn lessons into stories. Every experience has a takeaway. Identify it. Frame it. Share it. Example, instead of saying, "I learned patience," tell a story. "I tried painting for the first time last weekend. At first, it was frustrating, but I stuck with it. By the end, I realized patience isn't about waiting, it's about persistence." People remember lessons when wrapped in a narrative. That's the key. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. Let's talk delivery. Your voice matters. Your tone matters. Your timing matters. Vary your pitch. Pause at key moments. Use gestures naturally. Don't rush. Don't drone. Engage with energy. People respond to energy. People respond to presence. Your story is amplified by how you deliver it. You have a choice. That's the key. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. Now consider follow-up questions. Stories are not just monologues, they are conversation starters. After sharing a story, invite engagement. Ask, "Have you ever experienced something like that?" Or, "What's your take on situations like that?" This continues momentum. It deepens connection. It creates trust. It builds rapport. Repeat, stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. That's the key. Here's a real-world example. You're at a social event. Someone asks, "What did you do last weekend?" Instead of giving a flat answer, you tell a story about hiking a new trail, getting lost briefly, and discovering a breathtaking view. You share the challenge, the surprise, the emotion. They respond, laugh, relate, and ask questions. Conversation sparks naturally. You are remembered. Influence grows. You have a choice. That's the key. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. Let's combine this with everything we've learned. Stop freezing, start talking, ask questions that spark fire, use the magnetic pause, mirror and match subtly, and now, tell stories. The combination is unstoppable. Conversations become engaging, memorable, and influential. Momentum builds naturally. Connection flows effortlessly. You have a choice. That's the key. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. Repetition is your anchor. Repeat it until it becomes a habit. Stories create connection. Stories create trust. Stories create impact. Say it. Believe it. Live it. Use it. Every conversation. Every interaction. Every small talk moment. Master this and people will remember you, respect you, and engage with you every time. That's the key. Finally, tie it back to the book's theme. Small talk is not small. Words are powerful. Pauses are powerful. Mirroring is powerful. But stories? Stories are transformative. Stories turn ordinary conversation into unforgettable connection. You now know the secret. You now know the tool. You now have the skill. You started talking. You've asked questions that spark fire. You've mastered the magnetic pause. You've mirrored and matched. Now you are ready to speak with substance. Next, we uncover Chapter 6, Escape the Awkward Loop, where we reveal the techniques to keep conversations alive and avoid dead ends that destroy momentum. Chapter 6, Escape the Awkward Loop. Awkward conversations happen to everyone. 1 second you're talking and the next you're trapped. Yes/no dead ends. Complaints that go nowhere. Oversharing that kills interest. The energy drops. People disengage. And most importantly, you look stuck. But here's the truth, you don't have to stay stuck. You have control. You have power. You can escape the loop. Break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. Repeat it. Internalize it. Live it. Let's start with the first trap. Yes/no dead ends. You ask a question. They answer yes or no. Silence. Awkward pause. People freeze. Most respond by asking another yes/no question. And the cycle repeats. This is a dead loop. It drains energy. It kills momentum. You don't need to play that game. You have a choice. That's the key. Break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. Here's the escape. Pivot. Pivot transforms dead ends into opportunities. If they answer yes or no, add a follow-up that opens the door. Example, did you enjoy the event? Yes. Pivot, what was your favorite part? Suddenly, the dead end becomes engagement. Momentum returns. Energy flows. That's the key. Break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. Second trap, complaining. Everyone complains sometimes. It's natural. But complaints kill connection if left unchecked. People tune out. Conversation dies. You don't need to echo negativity. You have a choice. That's the key. Break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. Escape technique. Reframe or redirect. Listen briefly, acknowledge, then pivot to curiosity or solution. Example, I hate traffic. Acknowledge, yeah, it's brutal. Redirect, what's the best route you found to avoid it? You've shifted the energy. You've led the talk. Connection remains. Momentum grows. Repeat it. Break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. That's the key. Third trap, oversharing. Some people dump too much personal detail and most people respond awkwardly. The conversation becomes unbalanced. It stalls. You don't have to shut it down. You have a choice. That's the key. Break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. Escape technique. Ask to pivot or ask curiosity questions. Example, I've been struggling at work all week, it's terrible. You respond, that sounds tough. What's one thing that's been surprising you at work recently? You redirect. You create momentum. You regain control. Energy shifts. You lead the talk. That's the key. Let's talk about the mindset. You have a choice. You always have a choice. Conversations are not uncontrollable. You don't need to wait for the other person to save it. You don't need approval. You don't need permission. You control the flow. You choose engagement. You break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. Repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it. That's the key. Here's a practical framework for escaping loops. 3 tools, 3 actions. Pivot, ask, inject curiosity. Pivot, change the angle of the conversation to something engaging. Ask, introduce a new question that invites detail, depth, or thought. Inject curiosity, say something intriguing that sparks response or emotion. Combine these tools at will. Notice the trap. Choose a tool. Apply it. Momentum returns. Connection strengthens. Energy grows. Repeat, break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. That's the key. Real-world example. You're at a networking event. Someone says, I'm not sure about this seminar. Most people respond with agreement or awkward silence. You pivot. What's one insight you were hoping to get from it? They respond. Energy returns. Conversation flows. You lead the talk. That's the key. Another example. Someone complains, my boss is impossible. Most people react with nods or their own stories. You acknowledge briefly, yeah, that sounds frustrating. Then ask, what's one strategy you found that works with challenging managers? Energy shifts. Momentum returns. You control the conversation. Repeat it. Break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. That's the key. Now let's address timing. Don't overthink. Don't hesitate. The moment you notice a dead end, act. Conversations reward quick, confident intervention. The pause between noticing the loop and taking action is when momentum is lost. Act fast. Choose action. Break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. Repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it. That's the key. Remember, repetition creates mastery. Every interaction is practice. Every awkward moment is a lesson. Each time you escape a loop, you build confidence. Each time you shift energy, you strengthen connection. Each time you lead the talk, you cement influence. Break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. That's the key. Here's an advanced technique. Combine tools. Pivot, then ask, then inject curiosity. Layer them. Make the conversation irresistible. Make people lean in. Make them remember you. Make them engage. You have a choice. That's the key. Break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. Repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it. Finally, let's tie this back to the overall theme. Small talk is not random. Strategic. Momentum matters. Energy matters. Connection matters. You now know how to escape dead ends. You now know how to transform awkward pauses, complaints, and oversharing into engagement and rapport. You have the tools. You have the mindset. You have the choice. Break the loop. Shift the energy. Lead the talk. That's the key. You have mastered starting conversations. You've asked questions that spark fire. You've used the magnetic pause. You've mirrored and matched. You've told stories. Now you're ready to escape the awkward loops that destroy energy. Next, we move into Chapter 7, The Art of Leaving an Impression, where you'll learn to close every conversation with lasting impact. Chapter 7, The Art of Leaving an Impression. You start the conversation. You ask the right questions. You pause with purpose. You mirror and match. You tell stories. You escape the awkward loops. But here's the truth most people ignore. How you end a conversation is just as important, sometimes more important, than how you start it. Closing is strategic. Closing is deliberate. Closing is your final impression. End it well. End it intentionally. End it with impact. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. Repeat it. Internalize it. Live it. Most people stumble here. They wrap up awkwardly, mutter a nice talking to you, and walk away. Forgettable. Flat. Invisible. You leave them thinking about you. You leave them wanting more. You leave them engaged. That's the key. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. Let's start with value. Give something they can carry from the conversation. It could be a compliment, a thoughtful insight, or a shared resource. Example, I really admire how you approach problem solving. It's inspiring. I'll have to remember that next time I face a challenge like this. Suddenly, you've given something tangible, memorable. Value sticks. Momentum continues. Connection deepens. You have a choice. That's the key. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. Next, summarize. Highlight the key points of your conversation, especially insights they shared or moments you connected over. Example, it was great hearing about your new project. I love how passionate you are about innovation. It really shows. Summarizing signals attention, respect, and engagement. It makes the conversation feel complete. It reinforces your presence in their memory. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. Repeat it. Finally, tease the next interaction. Leave a sense of anticipation. Give them a reason to reconnect. Example, I'd love to hear more about your project next week. Let's catch up soon. You've left them curious, intrigued, and expecting the next conversation. This is powerful. Momentum continues even after you part ways. You have a choice. That's the key. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. Let's talk about timing. Don't rush the ending. Don't trail off awkwardly. Own it. Decide the moment you want to end and make it deliberate. Use body language, tone, and eye contact to reinforce your exit. Step forward confidently. Smile. Nod. Pause. Leave energy in the room. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. Repeat it. That's the key. Here's a practical example. You're at a networking event. The conversation has been smooth. You notice it's nearing the end. Instead of mumbling, you say, I've really enjoyed hearing about your work in marketing. Your perspective on engagement was eye-opening. I'd love to continue this conversation next week over coffee. Can we set that up? You summarize, compliment, and tease the next interaction. They remember you. They respect you. They anticipate you. That's the key. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. Another subtle technique. Leave them with a story or analogy that lingers. Something simple, relatable, and memorable. Example, your approach to problem solving reminds me of a chess game. Every move counts and strategy wins in the long run. Suddenly, the conversation has a mental imprint. People carry it with them. Your presence lingers even after you walk away. You have a choice. That's the key. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. Now let's address fear. Some of you worry about overstepping, being too forward, or leaving a conversation too abruptly. Stop. You are not overstepping. You are not being intrusive. You are being strategic. You are leaving a positive mark. People appreciate clarity, confidence, and intentionality. Step with purpose. Speak with impact. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. Repeat it. That's the key. Timing matters here too. Don't linger unnecessarily. Don't force extra words. Know when to close. Recognize the natural rhythm of the conversation. Use your summary and tease strategically. Let them leave thinking about you positively. Let them leave wanting more. Let them leave engaged. You have a choice. That's the key. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. Here's another tip. Combine this with everything else you've learned. Start the conversation confidently. Ask questions that spark fire. Use the magnetic pause. Mirror and match subtly. Tell stories that resonate. Escape awkward loops. Now close strategically. The combination makes you unforgettable. The combination turns ordinary small talk into memorable interaction. Momentum flows naturally. People remember you. People respect you. You have a choice. That's the key. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. Let's do a real-world scenario. You meet a potential client. The conversation has been productive. As it winds down, you summarize, "I really enjoyed hearing about your approach to leadership. Your insights on team motivation were inspiring." You add value, "I'll take some of these ideas into my own work." Then you tease the next interaction. "Let's schedule a follow-up next week so we can dive deeper." You've mastered the ending. They leave thinking about you positively. They leave intrigued. They leave anticipating more. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. Repeat it. That's the key. Repetition builds mastery. Every conversation is practice. Every closing is an opportunity. Each time you summarize, compliment, or tease, you reinforce your presence. Each time you end strategically, you strengthen rapport and influence. Repeat, end with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. That's the key. Finally, remember, small talk is not small. Every conversation is an opportunity to influence, connect, and leave a lasting impression. You now know how to start, engage, pause, mirror, tell stories, escape loops, and close strategically. Closing is not an afterthought. It is deliberate. It is intentional. It is transformative. You have a choice. That's the key. End with value. End with intrigue. End with presence. You have mastered the art of the conversation from start to finish. Next, we move into Chapter 8. Confidence is silent, not loud, where we reveal the subtle power of calm presence and unshakable conversational authority. Chapter 8. Confidence is silent, not loud. Most people think confidence is loud. They think it's about talking over others, about dominating the room, about impressing everyone with big words or bold gestures. Wrong. True confidence is silent. True confidence is calm. True confidence comes from preparation, not ego. You have a choice. That's the key. Confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. Repeat it. Internalize it. Live it. Stop relying on volume to prove your worth. Stop thinking that louder means stronger. People don't remember volume, they remember presence. They remember composure. They remember clarity. A quiet, calm tone carries authority. It commands respect. It engages attention. You have a choice. That's the key. Confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. Let's start with preparation. Preparation builds silent confidence. You know your questions. You know your stories. You know your pause. You know your mirroring and matching. You know how to escape loops. Preparation eliminates panic. Preparation eliminates hesitation. Preparation creates invisible power. You don't need to shout. You don't need to prove. You simply are ready. You have a choice. That's the key. Confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. Tone matters. Speak clearly. Speak slowly. Speak with intention. Don't rush. Don't mumble. Don't overfill the conversation with words. People feel authority in your voice when it is steady and deliberate. A calm tone dominates more than a loud one because it signals control, mastery, and focus. Repeat it. Confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. Pause strategically. You've learned the magnetic pause. Now understand why it reinforces confidence. Pausing communicates that you are not rushed. Pausing communicates that you are in control. Pausing communicates that you value your words and the conversation. People respect this. People listen. People follow. You have a choice. That's the key. Confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. Let's address ego. Loud confidence is ego-driven. Ego wants validation. Ego wants to dominate. Ego wants attention. True confidence ignores ego. True confidence is rooted in competence, awareness, and preparation. True confidence is invisible. True confidence doesn't need approval. You have a choice. That's the key. Confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. Here's a practical example. You walk into a meeting. Everyone is talking fast, vying for attention. Most people raise their voices, gesture wildly. You speak clearly, slowly, with measured words. You pause. You listen. You nod. You mirror subtly. The room adjusts to you. People lean in. They follow your lead. Your silent confidence dominates without drama. That's the key. Confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. Another tip: body language. Stand tall, shoulders back, chest open. Maintain comfortable eye contact. Move with purpose. Avoid fidgeting. Avoid over-gesturing. People perceive confidence not only in your voice but in your presence. Silent authority communicates more than words. You have a choice. That's the key. Confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. Now let's discuss mindset. Confidence is an internal state. It comes from knowing you are prepared. It comes from having practiced. It comes from trusting your skills. It comes from understanding that conversations are a skill, not a test of worth. You don't need to prove yourself. You simply act with clarity, calm, and intention. Repeat: confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. Practice makes this natural. Start in low-stakes conversations. Control your tone. Control your pacing. Control your body. Pause intentionally. Ask curiosity-driven questions. Mirror and match subtly. Tell stories. Escape awkward loops. Close strategically. Observe how people respond. Gradually, your calm authority becomes instinctive. You have a choice. That's the key. Confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. Here's a real-world example. You're at a networking event. Someone tries to dominate the conversation. Most people compete. You stay calm. You respond thoughtfully. You pause. You listen. You ask the right follow-up question. People notice. They respect you. Your presence is felt without volume. Your authority is silent, yet undeniable. That's the key. Confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. Remember, repetition is essential. Internalize it. Repeat it in every interaction, every conversation, every meeting, every small talk moment. Let it become automatic. Confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. That is your anchor. That is your edge. That is the force that makes people naturally respect and follow you. Tie it back to everything you've learned. Start talking, ask questions that spark fire, pause with purpose, mirror and match, tell stories, escape loops, leave a lasting impression, and now carry it all with silent confidence. The combination is unstoppable. Your presence commands attention without ego. Your authority is magnetic. Your influence is natural. You have a choice. That's the key. Confidence is calm. Confidence is clarity. Confidence is invisible power. You've mastered speech, questions, pause, mirroring, stories, loop breaking, and closing. Now add silent confidence, and you are fully equipped to dominate conversations without arrogance. Next, we move into Chapter 9. Energy is Contagious, where we reveal how to transmit enthusiasm, positivity, and engagement that draws people toward you. Chapter 9. Practice like a pro. You want mastery. You want effortless conversations. You want people to remember you, respect you, and connect with you naturally. Here's the truth. None of it happens by accident. None of it happens overnight. Skills are built through practice. Structured, intentional, daily practice. You have a choice. That's the key. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Repeat it. Internalize it. Live it. Stop relying on luck. Stop thinking charisma is innate. Stop assuming social confidence is a gift. It's a skill, a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows with repetition, not with hope. You have a choice. That's the key. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Let's start with structure. Practice isn't random. It's intentional. It has focus. Pick a specific skill each day, pausing, asking curiosity-driven questions, mirroring, storytelling, or closing with impact. Isolate it. Drill it. Repeat it. Focused repetition builds muscle memory. It makes your actions automatic. You don't have to think. You just do. That's the key. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Here's the first exercise. 5-minute daily role play. Set a timer. Pick a scenario. Networking, small talk, or meeting a stranger. Speak out loud. Practice starting the conversation. Practice asking questions that spark fire. Practice the magnetic pause. Practice mirroring and matching. Practice telling stories. Practice escaping loops. Practice closing strategically. Do it daily. Short, intense practice builds skill faster than hours of random interaction. You have a choice. That's the key. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Second exercise, conversation journaling. After any real interaction, write it down. What worked? What didn't? Where did you pause? Where did momentum stall? What story resonated? Reflecting turns experience into data. Data builds insight. Insight builds skill. This is how pros refine their craft. You have a choice. That's the key. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Third exercise, reflection loops. After journaling, simulate improvement. Replay the conversation in your mind. Imagine how you could pivot, ask better questions, or end with more impact. Visualize the magnetic pause. Visualize mirroring and matching. Replay it until it feels natural. Mental rehearsal reinforces action. Physical performance follows mental repetition. You have a choice. That's the key. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Let's combine these exercises. Start with a short role play. Write it in your journal. Reflect with a mental replay. Do this consistently. Over time, these exercises compound. Conversations become automatic. Confidence becomes natural. Presence becomes magnetic. Influence becomes effortless. You have a choice. That's the key. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Here's a real-world example. You notice you freeze when meeting new people. You start a 5-minute role-play practice each morning. You journal every interaction. You mentally replay mistakes and improvements. Weeks later, you step into a networking event. You start conversations smoothly. You pause effectively. You ask questions that spark fire. You mirror subtly. You close strategically. People remember you. People respect you. People connect. You have a choice. That's the key. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Mindset matters. Embrace failure. Every stumble is feedback. Every awkward moment is data. Don't fear mistakes. Don't punish yourself. Fail forward fast. Analyze. Adjust. Apply. Repeat. Growth is built on trial, error, and reflection. Muscle memory forms only when repetition is combined with feedback. You have a choice. That's the key. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Another tip, make it a habit. Schedule time. Treat practice like a non-negotiable appointment. 5 minutes is enough if it's consistent. 10 minutes even better. Daily repetition compounds. Skill builds faster than you think. Momentum grows with routine. You have a choice. That's the key. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Combine this with everything else you've learned. Start talking. Ask questions that spark fire. Use the magnetic pause. Mirror and match. Tell stories. Escape awkward loops. Close with impact. Now layer on practice. Repetition builds automaticity. Automaticity builds confidence. Confidence builds influence. Influence builds connection. Connection builds results. You have a choice. That's the key. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Here's the mantra again. Say it. Believe it. Live it. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. These words are your anchor. These words are your drill. These words are your path to mastery. Every conversation becomes practice. Every interaction becomes a building block. Every mistake becomes a lesson. You have a choice. That's the key. Practice every day. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Finally, remember, mastery is not talent. Mastery is discipline. Mastery is habit. Mastery is repetition. You've learned the skills. You've learned the mindset. Now you turn knowledge into instinct. You turn strategy into automatic action. You turn small talk into a superpower. Practice like a pro. Fail forward fast. Repeat until automatic. Next, we move into Chapter 10, the Conversation Mindset, where we pull together every lesson and reveal the mental framework that makes every interaction effortless, confident, and magnetic. Chapter 10, Small Talk, Big Results. You've learned the skills. You've learned the mindset. You've practiced relentlessly. You've started conversations. You've asked questions that spark fire. You've paused with purpose. You've mirrored and matched. You've told stories. You've escaped awkward loops. You've closed strategically. You've built silent confidence. You've practiced like a pro. Now it's time to see the bigger picture. Small talk is not small. Small talk is the gateway. The gateway to influence, opportunity, and trust. Every conversation matters. Every word matters. Every pause matters. Repeat it. Internalize it. Live it. Most people dismiss small talk. They think it's trivial. They think it's meaningless. They're wrong. Small talk opens doors. Small talk builds networks. Small talk creates opportunities that would never exist otherwise. One casual comment at a party. One brief interaction at a networking event. One small question asked with curiosity and presence. That's all it takes to spark life-changing results. You have a choice. That's the key. Every conversation matters. Every word matters. Every pause matters. Here's a real-world example. Imagine someone attends a networking event. Most people nod and exchange names. One person asks a thoughtful question. They share a small story. They pause intentionally. They show presence. Days later, the person they spoke with introduces them to a mentor. That mentor later connects them with a job opportunity. That's small talk creating a massive impact. Small talk is not trivial. Small talk is powerful. Every conversation matters. Every word matters. Every pause matters. Let's tie together everything you've learned. Start talking. Stop freezing. Take action immediately. Momentum begins the moment you speak. Ask questions that spark fire. Curiosity opens minds. Curiosity creates connection. Curiosity keeps the conversation alive. The magnetic pause. Silence is your tool. It signals confidence. It creates engagement. Mirror and match. Subtle alignment builds subconscious trust. People feel understood without realizing it. Stories sell. Transform ordinary experiences into memorable interactions. Stories create impact. Escape awkward loops. Avoid dead ends. Shift energy. Lead the talk. Leave a lasting impression. Close with value, intrigue, and presence. Make people remember you. Confidence is silent. Calm authority beats ego-driven noise. Your presence carries influence. Practice like a pro. Structured repetition builds mastery. Muscle memory turns strategy into instinct. Combine all these skills. Apply them consistently. Small talk transforms from a mundane necessity into a strategic advantage. Every conversation becomes an opportunity. Every interaction becomes a chance to grow influence, trust, and opportunity. You have a choice. That's the key. Every conversation matters. Every word matters. Every pause matters. Let's emphasize the mantra once more. Say it aloud. Say it in your mind. Repeat it constantly. Every conversation matters. Every word matters. Every pause matters. These words are your anchor. They are your drill. They are your path to mastery. Conversations are no longer random. Conversations are intentional. Conversations are your power. Here's a bonus insight. Opportunities compound. One small interaction leads to another. One connection leads to multiple doors opening. Your words, your presence, your pauses, they ripple. Small talk is the first stone in a chain reaction of influence. You have a choice. That's the key. Every conversation matters. Every word matters. Every pause matters. A final real-world example. You're at a party. You strike up a casual conversation. You ask a thoughtful question. You pause for effect. You tell a small story. You mirror subtly. You leave a strong closing impression. Weeks later, someone remembers you. They recommend you for a business opportunity, a personal introduction, a life-changing connection. That all began with small talk. That all began with practice, presence, and purpose. Every conversation matters. Every word matters. Every pause matters. Before we end, here's the ultimate reminder. You control every conversation. You control your presence. You control your words. You control your energy. You have a choice. That's the key. Use it wisely. Use it intentionally. Apply the skills you've learned consistently. Master small talk. Unlock big results. Every conversation is your advantage. Every interaction is your opportunity. Every word, pause, and story is your tool. Repeat it. Every conversation matters. Every word matters. Every pause matters. If you found this guide valuable, actionable, and transformative, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Every week, we release content that helps you master your mindset, influence, and social confidence, turning everyday moments into extraordinary results. Don't miss out. Subscribe now. You are ready. You have the knowledge. You have the skills. You have the mindset. Go apply it. Go start talking. Go spark fire with your questions. Go pause with power. Go mirror and match. Go tell stories. Go escape awkward loops. Go leave lasting impressions. Go practice like a pro. Go use silent confidence. And go turn every small talk into big results. Every conversation matters. Every word matters. Every pause matters. This is your power. This is your influence. This is your time. Use it.